edition of the Obi One Podcast, made possible by BetWinner. It's Chris McCarty and the Chelsea and Nigeria legend, the man who makes the world go round. It's John Obi Mikel. Great to see you again, John.
Good to see you always.
I see more of you than I see of my kids. You and I are spending far too much time together. Not that I'm complaining. I love your
you are
company.
complaining, are you?
I'm not complaining. I'm absolutely not complaining. Listen, great to be back with you.
Yes.
We're back. It's the bread and butter, is what I call it, because it's the Obi One Podcast, made possible by BetWinner. We've had Usain Bolt, we've had Carlo Ancelotti, we've had Robert Pires on season 2. This week, we've got not one, but 2 special guests.
Yeah, 2. I think it's the first time, obviously, on the podcast where we have where we've had two individuals, and these are 2 absolutely well-known sports broadcasters, ever. I think the whole broadcasting football thing started with them. At Sky Sports, and very well-known, have their own opinion, sometimes very, very controversial,
Yes.
but they live by their sword. They live with what they say and they die with what they say. So their opinion is their opinion. And it was the first time for people to get to hear exactly from the horse's mouth of what happened, why they left Sky Sports, and how everything unfolded. So this is a must watch.
It is Richard Keys and Andy Gray.
Yes.
Even my mother, when I told her about it, was like, oh, this should be interesting.
They are the OGs. You know what I mean? When people say the OGs.
They are the OGs, but they are polarising figures.
Yes.
And let's be frank about it. There'll be a lot of people that will be raising an eyebrow at the fact that we've got Richard Keys and Andy Gray on the podcast. What I would say is we flew over to Doha. We sat down with them. We got about 2 hours in their company. And you, John, more than me, although I think we did a good job kind of tag teaming, there's a lot of tough questions.
Yeah,
and we
very
had
tough,
to
yeah.
do some of the tough questions.
We had to. Of course, if we have to go all the way to Doha, and they've said to us to come over there and have a chat, we have to put the tough questions forward. And that's exactly what we did. And this is what people want to know. People want to understand what happened. And they were very, very truthful and honest about everything that transpired, what happened, and how things unfolded. So for us, it was a fantastic time at Doha, and 2 hours spent with them, because they were very, very open. They were very very emotional at times, with what happened, because they felt like they absolutely loved what they did at Sky Sports, and to let go, and at times, from what I had, been framed by some people, and absolutely must watch this.
Yes,
so
it absolutely is.
Yeah, fantastic.
So let's get to it. Of course, what John is referring to in relation to Richard and Andy leaving Sky Sports back in early 2011. Derogatory remarks made towards the assistant referee at the time, Shan Massey. There were other clips that then emerged, and essentially the tabloid newspapers in the UK had a field day with Richard Keys and Andy Gray. So what I would say, park your thoughts to one side. Let's get into this then. Our interview, our exclusive on the Obi One Podcast, made possible by BetWinner, with Richard Keys and Andy Gray.
BetWinner is your reliable partner in the world of sports betting.
It's the Obi One Podcast, made possible by BetWinner. It's Chris and John Obi. Mikel, is it Mikel, Obi, John?
Yep.
We don't fucking know, but we're back here. I say we're back here, John.
We are.
We're spending the big bucks. We're not in London. Where are we?
We're in Doha.
We are in Doha.
We are in the city of the 2 legends.
The 2 legends.
2 legends. Where are they?
When are they coming?
Who's in?
When are they coming in?
They'll come down in a second.
we the warm-up.
The warm-up act is in 2 fellas that don't need an introduction. Richard Keys and Andy Gray. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for coming. It's nice to see you guys here in Doha.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
It's history being made on the podcast today, because it's the first time we've had 2 guests.
2 guests.
On.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes a lot of beating that then.
It was Dwight, Yorke and Andy Cole.
It takes a lot, yeah.
And we thought, nah, fuck them. We'll
Yeah,
get
you're
Andy
right.
Gray and we'll get Richard Keys.
By the way, what a 2 they
That
were.
was a good two.
Yeah.
They were incredible.
That was a good two.
They're the best the Premier League's ever seen.
Ooh.
That's
They
a
were the
straight
most unselfish pair I've ever seen.
Call me.
These guys that score goals.
Okay.
I was
Are different,
unselfish.
aren't
And you.
Yeah,
Different
That was a very good point. I was just about to say that. Don't.
the number of times
Exclude
I've heard
yourself,
him
fella.
say, well, he had a right to shoot from there, having seen an opportunity go to waste. Yorke and Cole genuinely helped each other in front of goal. and didn't mind playing the other end for a goal. And I'd never seen anything like that on a football pitch. But were that close that neither minded giving up the opportunity to score to
the other one.
Genuinely, didn't mind.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
You can tell as well from their faces. And when they played, the smile they had.
They loved it.
They enjoyed helping each other score.
Lovely, lovely guys.
Yeah.
Coley used to get some terrible sticks.
Yeah, he did.
Because he was miserable. But I had a conversation with a golfer.
Do you think that's why he was so underrated, though? Because he wasn't the
He didn't
charismatic
engage,
kind of guy.
did he?
No, he didn't engage.
Everybody loved Yorke because he had a big smile and would I mean, we've interviewed Yorke, Jeff Shreves and myself at Heathrow Airport when he was on an unscheduled trip to London that Fergie didn't know about.
Oh, yeah.
And the only requirement he had was that if there was a tannoy announcement, that we started again. But no, Coley was the more serious of the two.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Front of house, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want golfers are selfish as well, and I remember saying to one at one stage, why don't you just engage with the public? Why smile a bit, be nice? And he went, "What, are you always nice in the office?"
No, he's not.
Yeah.
I can vouch for that.
And I went, well, maybe not. No, and he said, "What's my office?" And that was Coley's office. When he went to work, he was serious about it.
I'm going to. You say it's amazing, John. You just said there. Why was he underrated? I don't think Coley was underrated.
Because he's one player that I think he didn't score a lot of penalties. And
No,
his
he
numbers
scored no penalties.
So good.
One, I think.
Exactly.
One.
But what I'm saying is, he was never not by people who watched him. I mean, you don't play for Newcastle, Manchester United, if you're underrated.
Yeah.
I don't think he was.
Here we are, Andy.
Oh, what's that, fella?
Oh, thank you very much, Lord.
What's that?
Well, this today, you see, is uniquely different for us because it's kind of a job
It is a job, yeah.
exchange, isn't it?
Well, I'd like to think so.
So he's
The
doing
first
my
time,
job.
yeah, exactly.
doing your
The
job.
first time. Is it the first time
Yeah.
you've been in this?
So I thought I'd teach you how to be a good water carrier.
Him.
This man. There we go.
There you go. He's a good water carrier. Yeah.
I'll take 1, 2, 3. Joe.
He did that as well as anybody.
Yeah, he
else,
did.
didn't he?
I was the best in the Premier League.
Oh, yeah.
I must have missed that.
Thank you, Richard.
I saw your best game.
Which one was
I
that?
can't remember.
We had a laugh and a giggle about it. All jokes aside, he was a player though.
Yes?
Yes, agreed.
Yes.
But never admit that.
No.
We
never
if
admit
he
that.
wasn't here, we
No.
could say that, but
Yeah,
never tell him.
exactly. Not gonna tell
That
him.
shows weakness.
I know it does, but he
No.
pays the big bucks. I've got to say nice things to him.
He wasn't bad.
Anyone that's watching this on
wasn't
YouTube,
bad.
look what he's wearing, for goodness sake. We've had a laugh and a giggle about his outfit today. Partnerships, I want to get back to it. I mean, jeepers.
I was trying to impress them.
You look a janitor, John, is what you
He's
do.
got a boiler suit.
It's a boiler suit.
I'll tell you a true story. As we came in today, there was a little fella downstairs, thought he was one of the stars. Yeah? Give him a shout.
He's going to wash your windows.
Where's your bucket?
Where's your bucket? Windows.
They're not joking either.
Because he knows I'm the water carrier, the best water carrier in the business.
He does.
After Claude Makelele. We're talking partnerships. I want to talk about you two because the longevity that you two have had as a partnership. What is it about the relationship that you two have that has ensured that you've endured and you've stayed side by side?
We don't like each other.
It's like you're a married couple. That's what it is. Is it a married couple?
It's only a podcast.
One of the reasons would be we're very different, I think.
Yeah.
But we have a passion for what we do. I think that's evident, or it has been evident to me since I started working with him. I knew I had a passion for football. I didn't know Richard well when we got together, but I quickly found out that he too had a passion for the game and loved watching and talking about it. And it took us a while, if I'm being honest, didn't it?
Yeah.
To sort of hook up.
I'm very lucky in that I had two passions, still do have. One football, obviously, although my career had taken me in a few different directions before.
You were unlucky.
No, I'm not talking about being a player.
Oh, sorry.
No, he wasn't talking about that.
Oh, sorry. I thought about you talking about
Unfortunately,
the scouting system let him down, guys. As simple as that.
Okay.
Which position, Richard?
what
Oh, jeepers, how long we got?
Were you a Sheringham or a Shearer?
He claims to be a striker.
No, is he a Shearer? Were you Sheringham or Shearer?
Depended on the day, Andy. Depended on the job.
Okay.
Either or, really.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a true story about that in just a minute. But my other passion always was broadcasting. I always wanted to be a commentator.
Yeah.
Like so many more. I was the kid that when the boys got together was calling the names. But I worked with Clive Tildesley in Liverpool for 4 years, and it was evident to me that he was working and operating at a very different level to me, and that he was going to have a very good career behind the microphone. So I kind of changed gear and thought, well, I'll go another way. And it was Elton Wellesby, face of ITV at the time, who became a very good friend. His son works with us now.
Yeah, he does.
Who kind of steered me in that direction. But as regards my career, I can only tell you that perhaps people were not as thorough when I was playing as they should have been. And I remember sitting with Gordon Milne once doing a programme, a former Coventry manager.
He's a good lad, good judge of a player.
And I said to him, clearly, when you were managing in this part of the world, you hadn't heard of me. Your scouting network was perhaps not as good as it should have been. And he looked at me with a very straight face and he went, oh, no, we'd heard of you.
You were just shit.
You weren't for us.
You weren't good enough. Yeah.
You were just shit.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go then.
I wet myself when you said that.
There's no comeback from that.
No, none at all.
Right, well, thank you. It's been a hell of a day.
Thanks.
No, I didn't hit the heights that I would have liked to have done.
But how many Wembley goals, though, in fairness?
Oh, well, it's nice of you to mention that, Andrew.
just think it's
I
right.
have
You
scored
should.
4 goals at Wembley. At
4
different
goals
times.
at Wembley.
4 goals at
And
Wembley.
if you want me to really bore you, I could add the last goal at Highfield Road in Mickey Ginn's testimony. They're all out there, I think, on YouTube.
Oh,
so it's worth hunting them down.
Oh, by the way, your last one was a very good goal.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. There you see, that's why we get on so well.
He sets you up and you knock it.
I, as a lad, and he
Oh,
knows
no,
this.
don't even go
He
there.
knows this.
I, as a lad.
A big Coventry fan, obviously, but in those days, we didn't have Sky and you didn't get the opportunity to see so many different teams. And being a forward, or I thought I was a forward, you work out quickly who it is you want to be. We were all somebody else playing as lads, weren't we? I was always Andy Gray. Yeah. So my dad used to take me across to Villa Park to watch Andy.
I think people are going to believe this.
Commentary. I'd go and watch Andy. And then you get to meet your heroes, and people say you should never meet your heroes.
And you're
They're
disappointed.
not what you expect them to be.
Yeah.
But he was. It's worked out okay.
So there's never been anything where that's happened and you've gone to either Andy or to Richard and be like, why the fuck did you do that? Like this.
Yeah, there was. Big run.
What?
Big run.
What? The after the Southampton game?
Yeah.
Is
Andy
is that when he lost it on camera?
Yes, exactly. He lost it. Yeah, he lost it.
Did we fall out over that?
Well, you weren't too happy about it because I had made the point. I did make the point to Ron during the conversation before the game. Big Ron, brilliant by the way, top man. What a career. But he was managing my team then. And before the game, he'd said,
he had Fred the football fan put his hat on.
He
That's
had
what
said,
happened.
We're ready for this, and
We're up.
we're
Best team will win.
yeah, and all that stuff. So they get done, and I'm freaking not happy. So that's
He was Fred the football fan.
I should add, he's just gone through all the machinery and told me why they didn't win and all these. Maybe not thinking, of course, that his mate, Big Ron, was going to join us at some point. But anyway, Ron comes on camera and I said, well, where next then, Ron? Yeah, we're in big trouble. I'm not giving them a whipping tonight. If my boys deserve a whipping, I would. Who is the man of the match?
Their goalkeeper.
Oggy. Dave Besant.
Dave Besant.
Dave Besant. He went, thank you very much. Took his headphones off. Shrewsbury caught them in the face.
Boom.
Right there,
Yeah.
which is why he stops and goes, oh, you okay? And during the argument, he said, you can sit there with all your silly machines that you like.
So he's talking to me going, sit there with all your silly machines. I've done nothing.
You've been
I was sitting
constructive.
here. Fred the football fan was there grilling him. And I'm sitting there going,
So that didn't go. We would always go to the local rugby club. We weren't licensed at Sky. There was no alcohol on the premises. Unlike the BBC for many, many years.
the BBC have a license.
Oh, absolutely. Both had a bar, ITV and the BBC. Everybody
glory
went to the bar
days.
afterwards. Yeah. So we went to the rugby club and he wasn't happy. But that was, it kind of came and went. And I learned that from him as well. If you fall out, it must be in any good dressing room.
Yeah.
the next day.
You make up.
Another day.
Yeah, exactly.
Another day.
You get on with it. Get on with the business,
Done.
isn't it? Yeah.
Nothing you can do about it. Done. Yeah. No, we don't. We don't fall out. What people think Keezy and I live in each other's pockets as well. We don't. No, we don't.
No.
We, when we go away at the end of the season, I'll talk to him a couple of times, but he'll have his life, I'll have mine. He'll go on his holidays, I'll go on mine. We probably won't see each other for 2 months in the close season until we come back to Qatar. Every chance that happens. It's not like we're together all the time. Even in Qatar, we obviously spend a lot of time together, but we don't live in each other's pockets. And I think that's part of the longevity that's allowed us to be as we are for such a long time. Plus the fact that probably no one else would employ us if we didn't stay together either.
That was going to be the next question, because that's a great point you make. I'm sure, boys, over the years, a bit like you, John, you had offers. We were talking about a couple of Russian clubs came in for you, etc.
Yeah, what?
A couple of Russian clubs.
He's been to a couple of Russian clubs.
Well,
Which one?
That's a different story, Richard.
Which one?
Moscow?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, must have been
I'm sure it is Pumpkin.
Firehouse.
Pumpkin. What's that got to do with?
Yeah, you've got to tell us this, John.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Being home before midnight.
Yes.
Something to do with.
These fellas have been calling you Pumpkin all day, and I'm clueless. That's a story for another day.
If it's Joe Cole, I've got a story about him, which is actually true.
We've heard it.
We've heard it.
Oh, you've heard it? Okay, so let's
We've
leave it.
definitely heard it.
Are you dropping?
Let's leave it. No.
Okay.
No, we did grill him on that story
Oh,
as
you
well.
did,
He
didn't
was
you?
a very young man. At a different time in his life.
Right.
We'll have to get that Joe Cole story at some
I
point.
need to ask this though. I mean, shall we go back to 2011?
Yes.
2011, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, obviously, you guys were, Sky and stuff
There was
like
a
that.
lot. John,
Yeah.
Miguel, Obi.
Whatever your name is.
John.
There was what you read, what you were served, as is always the case, and you know this better than most.
Yeah.
You work at a football club where this happens almost on a daily basis. I'm sure that what we hear, what we see, isn't quite what is happening.
Mm.
And there was a lot more to our departure from Sky than I think the public were allowed to become aware of. And I don't want to go too deep because there's a book yet.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a book?
Of course there's
Oh,
a book.
wow.
Well,
Okay.
there's bound to be a book.
There's going to be a
Oh, wow.
Bound
Yeah.
to be a book.
It's about
I mean, you
to be.
can't leave
Exactly.
this business
Yeah,
and not write
yeah,
a book.
yeah,
can you?
yeah.
So, but no, it
Am
was
I in
almost. Are you in it?
You'll get a chapter, Andy.
Just checking.
You're part of it.
Oh,
What do
yeah,
you mean
yeah.
you're in it?
He was the reason.
Oh, dear.
No, it was. The first thing to say is I think it was a good thing that we parted company. Neither of us would have had an issue in leaving the right way if they had asked us.
Absolutely not.
And that was a requirement.
Uh-huh.
I think when I look back on it, my time there was done.
Yeah. And probably mine was as well.
Was it after
was
it 20
needed
years?
a change.
20 years.
20 years.
We needed a change, and the way it came about was unnecessary from our point of view. Needn't have been the way it was.
Okay.
From theirs, it had to be, because there was a lot going on. Murdoch was looking to try to buy Sky as an entity.
Okay.
He had friends in government. I think we now all know that more now than we did then. Jeremy Hunt was culture secretary and had said to Murdoch, if you can find a way to prove to me that you can be an independent news gatherer, I can get this through without it needing to go to committee in Parliament.
Right.
But
Okay.
you need to find a way to
Okay.
so I can say, look, what better way to do that than fry two of your biggest stars?
You believe that, Rich?
Well, I don't believe it. I've been told it. I mean, no question that was part of the scenario.
So that was planned that he to come after you.
I believe that we fell into a trap that had been laid.
Planned.
And I didn't see it coming. The other aspect was, and this is not a secret, and Andy found himself the centre of not just hacking, but video surveillance from the Murdoch press. Now,
Newspaper.
Wow.
Having been employed by them for 20 years, it was very strange to be told by Scotland Yard. And I'll never forget it. I was in New York doing something, and I got a call
Scotland
from
Yard?
Scotland Yard
Wow.
to say it's our duty to inform you, Mr. Gray, that you have been the subject of phone hacking And not only that, I found out, but video surveillance from the News of the World.
Whoa.
Same company that we work for.
That you work for, yeah.
Yes.
Jeez.
So it was extraordinary for me, and I couldn't catch. I just couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, that must be the worst and most boring video that anyone has ever seen. If they're surveilling me and taking videos.
Not sure.
It would have been.
and Andy, the timeline on that comes first in this whole Sorry saga.
That came first, and obviously I was furious. I went to see my bosses above me at the time, and told them I was really, really unhappy. He says, "Well, do what you like. Sue them if you want. They're not part of us. We're separate." And I went, "Listen, are you sure about this?" So to cut a long story short, I did. And I don't think that obviously did not help.
The situation, yeah. Okay.
Somebody once said you can't sue the mothership.
Exactly.
And there not be consequences.
Yeah.
But it wasn't reckless.
No, it wasn't reckless.
Having got the permission,
Yeah.
I now look back and think, were they smart enough to have set that up? Was that something, again, we didn't see? Is that something
Maybe.
Andy didn't see?
Maybe.
To allow us to leave the right way would have cost an awful lot of money.
Yeah, it would.
Okay.
And this way, it cost little or no money.
Okay.
So all we're telling you now is what is in the public.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not telling you any secrets that,
No.
and Andy's always been accused of being reckless. Should never have sued the company. Well, he had permission from senior people within the company.
Within the
Now,
company.
you can still say, well, he was a little bit naive.
I probably was. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But we've all done things that at different times we perhaps look back on and think we shouldn't have done. But anger at that point is flowing. So there was that. There was here's a good time to get rid. And I remember getting a call to say he's gone, sacked.
Ooh.
Andy go first.
Yeah.
Oh, Andy went first. Right.
I went first.
Okay.
I got a call, and this after 20 years, I'll never forget it. And I was sitting in my house and being surrounded by, I couldn't leave the house. House was surrounded by press and TV cameras. It was the most ridiculous thing. I thought, my God, what have I done in that respect to warrant this? And then I just got a call from the gaffer at the time. I can't remember his name. And I'm sitting in the lounge.
You can, but you don't want to name him.
Yeah, I know. And I picked up the phone and said, hello. I said, hi, it's so-and-so. I said, yeah. He said, this is after 20 years of working for that company. And he went, I've just been told to tell you that you've been sacked. And put the phone down. That was it. That was it. My wife walked in, Rachel, and she looked at my face and went, what's happened? I said, I don't know, but I think I've just been sacked by Sky. And she started laughing. She went, what?
Because she couldn't believe it, or you neither couldn't believe it, because after 20 years, you can't be just let go that way.
That was what they gave me, 10 seconds.
So in the timeline of all of this, it's out in the press.
And then what did you do,
I'm
Richard?
going. Richard's still there.
Well, as part of a recovery, don't forget, right? You work for the biggest news organisation in the world, who have got the powerful outlet to tell their side of the story of the Sun, the News of the World, Times.
And that's only in England.
Now, that's only in England. So who doesn't like the Times Telegraph? So they're going to get weighed in. Who doesn't like the Times Mail? They don't like Sky, so they're going to get weighed in. Mirror certainly don't like the Sun, so they're going to have a go. And I'm bringing up the rear. The Guardian told us, this is just joyous. So we hadn't got a friend in the world.
Whoa. So you think the whole media kind of like...
Well, they did.
The whole thing.
They did.
Yeah,
They did. I remember.
Everything was planned.
Everything.
And I
no
think
friendly fire.
It was being stoked.
No friendly fire.
So as part of the recovery operation, they'd said to me, why don't you go on the radio and say sorry? And, part of this is you go to 5 Live, talk to Victoria, Derbyshire, and say sorry. And I thought, that's not our audience. Talk Sport's our audience. I go to Talk Sport. So our mate ran Talk Sport. He must have thought Christmas. I said, I remember calling him and saying, Moz, I need a favour. Yeah, what's that? I said, would it be possible for me to get a bit of airtime this afternoon? He must have said,
as much as you want. As much as you want.
Come on.
So, and I was being driven in by my neighbour, and I got the call to say Andy had been sacked, and our mate, who was a senior member of staff there, Andy Melvin, good guy, he's in tears, and he said to me, "Do you want me to get you a package to leave? They'll come after you next. They'll come after you." And I thought, no. And my job was I'd been told, go to Talk Sport, say sorry, everything will calm down. We'll get you both back and
No, I
working the
wasn't
following
coming back,
weekend.
was I? I wasn't
But by
coming
this time, he's gone. So
Decisions so already been made to
That's
to
him
fire,
gone.
and
I'm
he's
gone.
gone. Yeah.
So I went and did this, and if ever I've never seen it back, but apparently I did say sorry a few times.
Did you?
A few times too many. In fact, 1,000 times.
So just to get this straight, whatever that was said out there, was it said? Do you, after what? How long has it been now? Do you regret the whole situation? Would you have done something different? Let's put it that way.
No, because we didn't do anything that we thought at the time. We were in a dressing room.
Sort of, yeah.
And dressing rooms are places where sometimes things can be said and done
Footballers,
that might not necessarily fit outside of that environment. And part of bringing guys into our orbit was having a little bit of fun, relaxing. And Ray Wilkins always used to say to us, he said, when I'm out of work, fella, I just need to be with you guys because this is the nearest thing I can get to a dressing room.
That's enjoyable.
Yes, it is.
You've worked with us. You worked with us in the World Cup.
Yeah.
You've
is,
been in the
exactly.
studio with us.
Yeah.
You know that it's nice to make people relaxed and have a joke and have a laugh with them and make you feel comfortable.
Exactly. I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
That was what we did for 20 years.
Yeah, I've said to these guys, I've said to Chris, the first time I was like, this is the first time I feel since retiring from football, I feel like I'm back in the dressing room.
Yeah.
I feel like this is me back in the dressing room.
I always say to people, you guys come into my world, our world. It's different now. You're very much a part of it. But your first time into cameras and lights, and it's all very intimidating. So my job then is to get your minds off that, so that you can just be you.
Yeah.
And it was always a sense of pride that if we could get to air 5 past any hour with no different an atmosphere to that which we generated at 5:02, then we've done part of the job. I'm getting better things from people because they're enjoying themselves. But just to finish that story, I go to TalkSport. I do, 1,000 sorries come out, and then I thought, no, if he's gone, I'm going to. So I called them back and said, yeah, get me some sort of package to leave. And I came out, and the unmentioned head of sport was waiting for me with a series of papers and a clipboard. I walked in. We sat for a short period of time. I signed the papers, and I was escorted off the premises by 2 security guards.
Wow.
Escorted out.
Yeah, escorted out of the building.
After 20 years?
Yeah. Put in the car and sent
But
away.
I'm going to answer your question
Yes.
that you asked there. Do I wish it hadn't happened? Yes.
Of course.
Of course I do. I would be a fool to admit anything other than that. So do I wish we hadn't gone through what we went through? Yes, I do. But have I, on the other hand, for 11 years, enjoyed my life? Yes, I have, here in Qatar. I have. More than I thought I would when I ended up losing my job. So it's like a 2-part question for me.
Yeah.
Yes, I wish it never happened, but I've had 11 great years. We've had 11 great
We
years.
learned a lot. I learned a lot. I think that we are very much aware that it shouldn't have happened in the manner that it did. If a byproduct of it is that women's football and women's sport in general is now taken more seriously, that clearly wasn't the intent at the time, but I'm glad it is. And the world's a very different place.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm not looking to suggest for a minute that you should feel sorry that we
No.
were victims.
No, not at all.
Something happened that shouldn't have done that I think we've been very aware of since and have apologised many times for. But it could have been handled by everybody a whole lot better.
Yeah. People make mistakes. Don't they? We all make mistakes, yeah.
We're human beings at the end of the day. And I just want to touch on that, just finally on that kind of area and part of you boys' journey, because you're right to say your opinion that you felt that you had targets on your back. You could understand, though, the furious nature by some for what was said.
Of course.
You could totally understand that.
Absolutely. And I'm very grateful for the fact that if there is anything to come out of it that is positive, that it has changed my view of much. And I very, very much am aware that we live in a different world now.
Very much.
So if that, as I say, is of course I understand that people were upset, but it has led to us understanding that was not right, should not have been part of that day or any other, and I don't think that is the case anymore. So some good came of it. If you're saying, as Andy said, for 11 years now, our people in this part of the world have been really good to us. And we live in an environment here where, I mean, the job itself is we're talking to millions of people. I used to talk to hundreds of thousands when we were at Sky.
Now you're getting like the richest millions of people, isn't it? Yeah.
And this is home, and I speak very defensively about Qatar.
Yeah, we do.
And this part of the world in general, because it's been very good to us. And people here have been extremely kind, very generous. And I listened to a track from Bruce Springsteen recently entitled
Which one?
Last Man Standing.
Okay.
And with the departure of Clive Tildesley from ITV recently, I'm thinking to myself,
And Martin Tyler.
he may have written that for us. Last Man Standing.
Last Man Standing.
No,
Which in itself is an irony.
It is an irony, yeah.
And annoying probably to many. But
I
there
do
we
have
are.
to say,
What makes me work with them gone, haven't they? Jeff Shreves is gone.
Yeah.
Jeff's gone.
Yeah.
Starting his new production company. He's doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm conscious that you both have said you weren't victims, and I'm glad that you've said that. However, you blokes are human beings like us all. The physical and mental toll of that sorry saga. How did it affect? How did it affect?
It's indescribable.
Yeah.
I'd never known anything like it. It was just relentless. Relentless. I mean, part of going to Talk Sport was because I was laying the seeds of us heading in that direction. I knew that there would be, it was run by, as I said, a mate of mine. I knew he'd at some point say, come and join us. But I'd also had a call from here.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Did
that come straight away, or it took?
Almost straight away. I'd been out here previously, John, and I'd worked. I launched their first sports channel here as a freelance during funny the Euros.
It was
where
yours.
we are, Austria and Switzerland.
That's it.
And I got a really kind message from Nasser Al Khalifi, that is now president of Paris, who was president of Al Jazeera then. He said, "Come here," So I did. And we sorted out a deal, and I was seen boarding a flight out of Heathrow in the very early days of Twitter, and somebody tweeted, and then it all kicked off again, and it got so hot. I said to Nasser, I said, "Look, now's not the time. I'm going to bring bad things to your company. I don't want you to be tarnished by right now employing me. Down the line, let's have another go. But right now it's not." So I lost 2 jobs in a fortnight, and the plan, of course, was that
both of you,
would,
you get him,
but as regards the firestorm, my goodness. Andy has been quoted publicly previously in expressing how dangerous a place it was that we were inhabiting at that time.
Horrible.
Wow.
Horrible.
Wow.
Dangerous.
By what? The vitriol you got on the street?
Not in the street so much. No, just the
We didn't go out.
We didn't go out. I never went out.
Didn't get on the street.
I never went out for
The workplace, you mean? The workplace.
I don't know when I went out. First time I went out was I went to meet Kesey. But I never went out for about 2.5, 3 weeks. I never left the house. I couldn't leave the house. My house was surrounded. And I remember one day Andy Townsend, good pal of mine, who lived near me, he came rolling up, and he obviously knew what was going on. And he said to me, "Right, I'm coming for you." And I went, "What do you mean you're coming for me?" So the next minute,
as well.
my gates opened, and Andy came roaring in on this bike, this motorbike, and with a spare crash helmet. And he went, "Right, come on." He says, "We're out." I said, "They'll just follow us." Andy says, "They won't catch me." So I said, bless him. I said, "Andy, I'm not in any fit state to go anywhere." I said, "I can't," and I wasn't. I wasn't in any fit state, and when I think back now, I'm embarrassed about how I reacted.
Well, you shouldn't be.
I am.
You shouldn't be.
I am.
Because there is. I was in the very same
I know
place
you were.
as you, and when you are, and this is why I take mental health so seriously now as well.
Yeah.
As
mental health.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had known that before.
You start doing things that of clear mind and head, you would not consider. I mean, I was watching Cristiano the other night crying on a football pitch, and masculine commentators go, it's a nonsense. How can he be crying on a football pitch? Can't take it that seriously. And I just said, well, hold on. You know, the levels at which he's operated these past 25 years, the intensity that he's come into this tournament with, the hopes of a nation that he's been carrying, all of those things come together in one moment.
Yeah.
You know, Gaza became a national hero, shedding tears on a football pitch. This guy has been derided. Why?
Yeah.
You know, it could just be at that moment a lot of things came together for him that led to the explosion of emotion that we saw.
You're saying you're embarrassed. What were you embarrassed by, Andy?
Because I've never felt that in my life before. I'd always been in control of my life, and I always had a handle on everything I was doing. And for the first time in my life, I felt totally out of control, not knowing what the next day was going to bring. My brother phoned me from Canada, and said,
Canada,
you know, you're leading the Canadian news, you and Richard tonight. I said, sorry? You're leading the news in Canada.
Wow.
And things that they were like fallout. I used to do a little thing in Australia. Australian newspaper used to call me once a month. Yeah, I just did it for them. It wasn't a paid job or anything like that. They wanted to talk about the Premier League, and they used me because of what we were doing. So I used to give them some stuff every month, and called me up. But sorry, Andy, we can't use you again. I'm thinking, okay. And it was just the whole fallout from it was staggering for me. And I just think if it happened again, I would handle it differently.
I'm not sure.
I would.
I think now of strong mind and with the experience of having lived through it, you like to believe that would be the case.
I think I would.
But when you're in that space...
No, I know.
Worse today.
When you're in that space... It's really scary.
It is. Scary. It's
and it
ridiculous.
was relentless.
I can tell. Andy's still quite emotional about it. I can tell.
Well, it doesn't
He's still
go
quite
away.
emotional about it.
Doesn't go away. Listen, I don't wake up and think about this every day, any day. But when it comes back, it comes back, and it's not a good time in my life. And my family and my wife were hugely important. So was Keezy at the time, and I don't think I'd have got through without them, if I'm being totally honest with you. But we did, and we moved on, and Richard sorted out Talk Sport, and we moved on again.
You built your confidence back.
Yeah, it just came back. I mean...
we shouldn't have been working.
No, we shouldn't.
That first day that we did... When he says he eventually ventured out and came to see me, we met our new colleagues from Talk Sport on a wharf on the South Bank for lunch, and this fella walked in, and I thought, my goodness, he's had his teeth done. All I could see was teeth. He was so thin. Just this man, looked like Jurgen Klopp.
Oh, wow.
God.
Did it look that good?
And that's the first time you've seen him, Richard.
It's the first time I'd seen him during that period.
For about a month.
And I thought,
and it just dropped off.
Yeah.
There was nothing of him.
No.
Nothing.
Well, that didn't eat, did I?
I wouldn't mind now, to be fair. But, but we shouldn't have been on the air. But we had to be on the air. I remember putting it to Andy. I said,
you did.
This is what we're doing.
You
and
did.
He went, no, we're not. And I said, Andy.
I said, I'm not ready. He said, I don't care. We're going on.
This is what we're doing.
If
we hadn't done that when we did,
it
wasn't that opportunity wasn't coming again. But even then, we turned up. They used to broadcast from a little street in the south of London, just by Waterloo, Hatfields. And by the way, I must add quickly, 2 of the happiest years of my career.
Oh, they were great.
2 of the best years of my career. Wonderful, wonderful people.
Yeah.
It was so refreshing. But we arrived to work the first morning in an Addison Lee taxi with the dark windows. I mean, I felt like a proper superstar.
Yeah.
I've never had treatment like this. Turned the corner into Hatfields.
You got your glasses on?
And all I could see was a row of outside broadcast units. I promise you, just one after the other. And then this crowd of commentators, hundreds of them. And the next minute, they're opening the door to get in the car.
Try to get in the car.
You think, what on earth? What's happened? What has happened?
Yeah.
It was just extraordinary.
It was
And then
extraordinary.
we went upstairs, and Moz says, right, be really careful. They'll have paid people in the office now to get tales and stories and see if they can put you back into a very invidious position. Jeez. And every word of that first program, every word,
I know.
it was being published live
as it was
on The Guardian and on
The Guardian,
Daily
was
Mail.
that Guardian? Was?
And the Mail.
Yeah, and the Mail.
Yeah, they were all doing it. And I just, this is surreal. This is just, I don't know what's happened here. The world.
It was surreal.
changed.
It was surreal.
You come through it.
Yeah.
BetWinner is your reliable partner in the world of sport betting.
BetWinner.
And, it's interesting. You mentioned Andy Townsend. I know Andy a little bit. Top guy, top broadcaster as well. Really, really good. There would have been a lot of people, I'm sure, that would have turned their backs on you as well. What was that?
Well, to the contrary, in fairness,
Other way.
entirely the other way. Nobody
Totally the other way.
within the world, the family of football.
Apart from the media.
Nobody
Media?
Media.
But who
Football
cares?
came to us.
Media weren't important.
Football came to us.
Right.
There was
They
nobody
had
on that
done their
show
bit.
that we did for 2 years that I called and said, will you join us?
And said no.
Nobody said no. Nobody said no.
Nobody.
They knew the story.
And the press, to be fair, the press, the sports boys, there's a difference.
Correct.
Still a difference between the back and the front of a newspaper. And all our mates on the back were there to help as well.
Yeah,
We
of
did
course they were.
press reviews and
We did press
good
review,
guys,
yeah.
and that restored my faith in the human race.
Yeah, it
And
did.
the people I think that we'd worked with at Sky forgot that down the line we're all going to see each other again. And I think there's one or two now look back on their part in what happened.
Yes.
with
Yeah.
disgrace.
Yeah. Just to finish off on this, obviously it happened, but obviously you guys, you're working for a massive, network. There must be a way that came out. How did that come to light to the public? Is there
Microphones
How-
left
is
on.
it the microphone? I mean,
Cameras.
yeah.
I know where you're going, John.
Yeah, I know where he's going as well.
Just
a
asking
naughty
a question.
boy. You're a naughty boy, you are.
He's always asking me questions.
You're a naughty
Today
boy,
I'm asking
yeah.
the
It's
question.
Sean's turn today.
I am firmly of the view
Okay.
that what came to light was not from an open mic, but was from a source from within the studio. Now,
Was in the studio at that time.
was in the studio. Yeah. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that without having researched. Andy's slightly of a different opinion and not sure, but I've spoken to a lot of people. The guys that were there was 1, 2, 3 cameramen, floor manager, 2 props guys. If they were sitting in this seat now and you asked them that same question, I think you'd get the same answer.
Okay.
Same person. Don't all mention same person.
One person who was at the core of that. Now listen, more fool me, stupid. Maybe I trusted too many people for too long, and I don't want to appear to be a victim, John. There were others that were and I made this plain about Sean on the day after when I got a call from the boss who said, "You got to call Sean and say sorry." I said, "Of course, no problem." And she was brilliant. She I mean, that word banter became famous. I think there's a meme still, but it was. She said it to me. She went, "Oh, fuck off." She said it was just banter. And I said, "No, Sean."
Did she say that? Did she, Richard?
Yeah. She said, "I expected this last week when I did my first game," and I said, "No, Sean." I said, "No, it's first of all, it's not, and it's a whole lot more serious now today than it was yesterday. If you felt that was the case." I said, "I've got to make this an official apology," and I mean it. I said, "I genuinely." Hope
Yeah,
I
you're not
didn't
trying to save
upset
face.
you or
You're-
not at all. And I said, Andy can't because he's on the air, but I just wanted to say sorry. She went, well, okay, I appreciate that. And then she said, to be fair to her, she said, thank fuck you didn't show the one I got wrong.
I know.
And I said, well, we were never going to do that. The one she got right, she was brilliant. And by the way, she was terrific. She really was a good assistant a referee liner. Brilliant. And the Torres one, she was spot on. But there was one she got wrong, and we buried that. We were never going to show that. And I remember saying, the only thing I said on air about it, I remember saying, there's Sian Massey, first female assistant linesman that we've had in the Premier League. Good luck to her. She's from my manor. She's a Coventry girl. And I said, I probably went to school with her dad. I don't know. Maybe I did. I'm not sure. But all of us wanted her to do well. Nobody wanted to see her have a bad afternoon.
No.
And she was a trailblazer.
She was.
And look where we are now. So many good things have come from it. Many good things. But yeah, it wasn't an open mic necessarily. We weren't on air.
I think I know who the person is.
Yeah.
I think I do.
That's maybe a conversation for off air.
I'd love to tell you, but that'll go in the book.
Yeah.
I said to John, the court of public opinion, it can be a cruel place at times. I mean, listening to you boys and Andy, I can see you've got emotional looking back, and I can't even begin to be in your shoes living that. Opinions do change over time. Of course, the news story, the news cycle moves on. Some 12 years after the fact, how are you boys now in the street when you bump into people? What's the relationship you have with your public today?
No different to what it was prior to 11 years ago for me, I don't think.
No, I don't think anything's
I don't
changed.
think.
I think it's when it comes up. It's funny. We did for a short period of time. We put our toe in the water of the podcast world. It was audio only, and I enjoyed it because it brought back the memories of doing the radio, which, as I say, was a great space to be. And one of our mates, Mick McCarthy, who was one of the first to come to Talk Sport and help us out. And so Mick was on, and we were talking about the story, of course, that gets mentioned every day for him, Keno walking out on Ireland. And I said, "How is it for you?" And he went, "Oh, we call it in our family. We call it. There's always one Dick. We call him Dick of the Day every fucking day." I suppose you could relate that to our world. There is always but largely people are actually warm. Largely, you'll get one every now and again.
Every now and again, you probably get one that's never liked you anyway, even prior to 11 years ago.
Can never please everyone.
You can't please everyone, so you'll always get that. But no, I since then, and I think that I certainly don't go back and get abused, and I don't get openly abused about what happened 11 years ago. I think that there's an awful lot happened in those 11 years, various areas of broadcasting, and I think we've certainly moved on, and I think what we've done here in Qatar and has helped enormously.
If we'd done what we have in America, we'd be heroes, because the Americans love a comeback story.
They do like a comeback story.
And we were on our backsides. I mean, we were done. And the big mistake that Sky made, and it was a huge error on their part, was if they'd said to both of us, "There's 2 years' money, now fuck off," you'd never have heard from us again. But that's not in my nature, to get beaten up like that. Sit back and accept that it was over. Just is not something I could accept. So I was always going to find another way to return to doing what I love very much. And I think, look, the guys that have succeeded, the world is different. There are many terrific operators, and I'm really pleased that the template, if you like, that we gave them, they have worked extremely well. There's some, as I say, terrific men and women. I mentioned Peen Mullenstein the other day as one of my favourite commentators. I think she's really good.
She's added a lot.
Really good. She has added a lot. And she's a little bit like Sean in many ways. There'll be others. And good.
What do you make of Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher now?
Great. I'm really happy that it's worked out as well for them as it.
That smile, Rich. That smile gets in the way.
That smile.
Two high-end broadcasters.
That smile.
If it's okay that you go around spitting on teenagers and continue to be employed, then great. For me, that was a far more serious offence. But that's
the Jamie Carragher one.
I'm not making the judgment.
I agree. I agree with you on that one.
I mean, geez.
We all thought he was going to get fired. You can't do that. You can't
I was
do that
pleased
on a
he
teenager.
didn't, because what it gave me, as I've just demonstrated, was the opportunity to say to you guys, well, look, when you consider what happened to us for the crimes that we were accused of and accept, and what he did on film. Wow. So, there's no comparison.
No.
But I think it has changed, and I'm really happy.
But he got given a second chance, and no one objects to that.
We're here and doing what we did. And it's been brilliant. I am now 57, and he's 67.
45, me.
45? Yeah. It's 42 like me.
Yeah. What age are you?
What age are you?
What age are you?
That's
Come
a
on.
mystery.
I don't think you know.
Here's a quiz for the week. What age is Michael Obi John?
How old, John? You're younger than me.
I'm a young'un.
But at 57, I'm very happy still to be doing what I'm doing. It's been a hell of a ride.
Do you look at the way that kind of punditry's moved? John and I talk about it. You've got CBS in the States with Kate Abdul.
Brilliant.
You've got Jamie Carragher there, Mika Richards, Thierry Henry. It's laugh a minute. Gary and Jamie a lot more analytical, which is something that I like. I remember you, Andy, when you started with Richard, it was about getting that tactic board out and showing me what a defender needs to do or what he did wrong. where do you think punditry's at? Because it's gone down the sensationalist route a little for me. It's who can shout the loudest, and I mean, we're writing off players and managers.
The loudest, yeah.
Mika laughs the loudest and does shout the loudest at times as well. What have you made of it? Where are we at in today's landscape?
I think punditry is each to their own. You like to hear some people talk the way you obviously like a bit more analytical commentary than people just laughing and joking all the time, a bit like myself. But there's room for everything. And that's the world is. In the world of social media now,
we're all experts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think now popularity is driven by hits,
Yes.
and if that is the primary objective or reason that you are employed by Sky and others, then those that are working to those guidelines are doing a very good
Yeah,
job.
they are.
A very good job.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it to be more pure, and I am still of that view, then you have to go elsewhere. But Andy's right. There is a space for everybody. I just happen to think that he rewrote the book on analysis and remains the best that there is working today. I this week
been drinking?
this week I've sat with most, if not everybody. So I think I'm in a position to be able to call it. This week I fulfilled an ambition that I'd always hoped might happen, and
You
that
worked with
was
John Obi McKell?
I would sit here and do this.
Exactly. There you go, Andy.
If I'm honest, Jose said to me, shit. Did he? Yeah. He said, see what you can do for him because he's taller.
Yeah, that's right. Get his numbers up.
Yeah, he said,
Get his numbers up, yeah.
He said, I served him up JT and that didn't work.
That didn't work either.
See if you two boys can give it a
Yeah.
leave it with us. Now, this week, to sit in the same studio as Arsene Wenger and Glenn Hoddle,
Yeah.
two of the best football brains of this and any era together.
True.
Wow. And him. Just
True.
mind-blowing. And that I still get a buzz from that. It's a very privileged place to be.
And it's not just like Arsene and Glenn who are our era. There's we've had Joe Cole and Ashley Cole, the guys who came and the more modern thinking coaches, if you want. And that was illuminating, talking to Ashley about his coaching and what he sees, how he sees football, how different it is from when we all started out, even when John was playing. It's moved on from there. And, he's been 20 years retired, isn't he? So
25.
No, Joe, we sent back a little more abrasive,
You think so?
perhaps, than we found him when he arrived. Yeah, I think we brought the teenage years out of him, which is good. So maybe expect something different. But Ashley Cole was a revelation.
Yeah, he was terrific.
We all have a view of people that we don't necessarily know and shouldn't.
Yes.
Without getting to know them.
I love Ash.
What
Ash,
a wonderful, humble,
He was
top
great.
man, yeah.
generous individual.
Knows the
He was
game.
great.
Just knows the game, which is fascinating. And we did have a drink one night, and I ran a competition. And actually, I did speak to JT this week, and I should have included him.
You should
I
have.
said to Ash, which of us do you think is more unpopular? you or me?
Well, Keezy won hands down.
And I'm sorry to say, I pissed it.
Yeah, you pissed Keezy.
All day long,
unanimous.
all day long.
Unanimous.
Ash looked at me as if to say, are you serious? But he has a reputation for not being a particularly nice bloke.
Why is that, though? Why is that?
Don't know.
I think there's two reasons for that.
Yeah, there's a
One
couple
was
of
leaving
stories.
Arsenal, and I think he upset a national institution, or in the view of the public.
When he
When he fell out
over
with
in the
Gerrard, he
car.
became,
Yeah, there's the one there.
became,
That one, yeah.
He became the guy that everybody
The bad
disliked.
guy,
Yeah, but no, he's absolutely true. There was one unfortunate moment which I drilled into my mate here. We're not going there.
Oh, no.
Just be careful.
I know.
And he did call him Cash
Nah.
at one point.
Well, I said, before he arrived, I said, right, we mustn't call him Cashley. He
you
picked
did.
up that nickname, didn't he, when he went?
To be honest,
And so for all those
to be honest,
7
I think-
days he was here,
I
it was
think-
Ash, it was
yeah.
Ash, it was Ash.
I think Solomon
And on that
Kalou
last
actually
day,
gave him
sorry,
that
Cash.
name.
I mean, it's Ash.
Yeah, I think Solomon Kalou gave him that name.
Was it?
Yeah,
It was-
Solomon
it was in the book, wasn't it?
I think Solomon Kalou started calling him Cashley Cole. Yeah, and the name just stuck.
then-
With it.
But he was great.
He was
He
fabulous.
took,
He's
he took
fun
that
with it. He took it.
he's just.
Takes it really well.
I would, I'd love to see him involved. I don't know how it works out for England, whether Gareth stays or otherwise, but he threw one in. Frank Lampard, Ashley Cole, people of that ilk and generation to manage England.
Why not?
Going forward. I'd love to see that.
It'd
be brilliant.
I speak to a lot of my mates. We're obviously based in Dubai. Watch BeIN Sports, and I direct this to you, Richard. It's a lot of what you say at times, and I call it you stirring the pot.
Oh,
You'll put questions to Andy.
This.
You'll say things, and I'll think to myself,
What a
and
dick.
yes, there are
He
times.
thinks actually, come on.
There are times, Rich. He's talking shite there. But me and the mate, because you create debate, me and my mates will say, do you reckon he really believes that? And I'll say, I think that the tongue is firmly in cheek. So illuminate us.
Yeah, the job, as you know yourself, you're doing it. If you can roll a little hand grenade into the middle of the floor.
Oh, and you can.
Yeah,
Explode it. Yeah.
And then another one.
it keeps coming.
I remember sitting with David Platt one night and doing a Champions League match, and I forget what the subject matter was, but I'd argued it one way or suggested to him that he wasn't right. And he fiercely defended his corner. And then I changed gear and went the other way. And we were on air, and he went, fucking hell, can't you just have one position? And then he sort of went, realised
He was still on there.
nobody heard it.
Oh, that was lucky.
But I thought, well, that's the job, I've got to...
I'll answer it for you. Yeah, I mean, two things. One, he knows how to press my buttons, right?
Which is good TV.
Which is good. He does that. He knows that.
But you take it very well, though. Like,
Yeah, he does it very, very well. He's a pro, and I'm not blowing smoke up his backside. He's the top pro for the job he does, without a shadow of a doubt. He's a journalist, which a lot of the guys that do Richard's job aren't. And he knows a story when he hears it. And he knows how to get a story out, as John has found out when he worked with us a little while ago. And that's what makes him different from anyone else. He knows a story, he senses a story, he smells a story.
Yeah.
And it's there.
Yeah.
And he knows the subject that he's talking about like the back of his hand.
Because that's it. And I come back to it because, and I was going through it all. And I remember I was cursing you. The Julian Nagelsmann, Frank Lampard, the difference being Julian Nagelsmann arrives to training on a skateboard. And I'm like, oh, you're grinding my gears here, Richard. You're grinding my gears. And I've got mates shouting at me. And there's the fascination. There's articles being written. Sam Allardyce, what is Richard?
That one.
Big mate.
No, that one. What I said was, tongue in cheek about Sam, that
Pep needs to employ him as his defence coach.
No, you see, that was the spin that was put on it.
Ah.
I said they might as well.
Might as well, yeah.
They might just as well. That what it was they were trying to achieve at the time. You want to bring in a defensive expert. Don't get Sam, no better. Nagelsmann, in defence of Frank Lampard, similar age.
Similar age, yeah.
Frank's got far more knowledge.
Frank is older than him, isn't he?
A
Nagelsmann is what,
little bit
30,
older, is he?
35,
A little
36?
bit older, I think.
Frank played at the highest level. I'm not saying that qualifies you to become a very good coach.
No, it doesn't.
Frank's also English. He's a Brit. And I am a great advocate of giving our boys their first chance. I don't believe, if it exists, I haven't yet seen it, the foreign coaching manual to success in the Premier League. I have not seen that book.
No.
And I think our guys are every bit as good.
Yeah.
And I stand by that. And I think they need to be given more of an opportunity to be so. I think Frank's been unlucky. Choice of job and timing is critical. You get the right job at the right time, you become a superstar.
Of course you do.
Frank was handed a crock of shit at Everton.
Yeah.
Oh,
He took it
brilliantly.
He took it.
Yeah.
Did brilliant. He took it. Had the bollocks to take it. Chelsea was maybe not the right time, but I think the job he did is
He
undervalued.
got Champions League. He got them top
Well,
four.
I'm going to say into the top four.
Coming back, I don't
First
think
season.
coming back was
Going back, you can't say no.
No, he couldn't say no
You
to
can't
Chelsea.
say
But
no.
the club
John.
was in such a
Should
bad
have stuck with
Yes,
Graham.
but it's
Yes.
Frank Lampard and it's Chelsea.
Yeah.
And
It's Chelsea.
lots
I
of
love
players.
Frank. I mean, it's my
What could
mate.
you do?
But I just think going back was because the club was such in a mess back then. And I understand, he loves the
his job.
club.
But you can't,
and
how do you wait? What
he
if,
wanted to-
if you wait,
he was-
John, and it doesn't
yeah,
come up?
Yeah.
These chances come around. You know, Graham.
Nagelsmann does go to work on a skateboard. I mean,
He does, but to your point, And again,
there's this stats about,
sorry,
there's
what is
this
his
stats.
point?
What's your point? Richard's point was, if he's going to work on a skateboard, he should wear a crash helmet. There you go.
There's this stats about English coaches.
no, there's not one's won a Premier League.
There's not one that's won the Premier League.
No, but
I don't.
Not an English single
My
coach that's
argument
won
to
the
that-
get the
Premier League.
chance.
There you go. Thank you.
Tell me who's had the chance.
They've had chances.
Who? Name
Frank
one.
has had a chance.
Who?
Graham Potter's had a chance.
No, Potter.
7 months.
Graham Potter
Shut up.
to win the Premier League.
Come on, no. Who's had a chance? Who's been given a team
Chelsea,
to
we
win
were
the Premier
languishing
League?
on 12th
You'll be English.
position.
Did you
Who's been given a team?
When Graham Potter got the job, he was going to lead Chelsea to the title.
There's only one I can think has been given
No.
a title winning side.
No, but
David Moyes when Fergie
Man
left.
United. Yeah, it was.
No.
They were title winners
No,
that
but
year.
what I'm saying,
He
he
was
was given
Scottish.
United. I'm
Yes,
saying.
but I said to you at the time,
But they weren't right.
They were 8 players
No,
short.
I know that,
2
but-
players got United over the line.
Yeah,
that
Rooney
year.
and Van Persie. Or Van Persie.
No.
No.
Scholes.
Scholes.
Scholes
He came
came
off
out of
Scholes,
retirement
yeah,
in January
Yeah.
and changed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That team was falling apart. Fergie knew it was falling apart.
you had to
did.
get
I think
Scholes
Fergie
back.
wanted
Yeah.
to hand over a winning side to someone to go on and do better than he did. There's something else your mates are going to get upset about.
Yeah, good.
BetWinner is your reliable partner in the world of sport betting.
BetWinner.
Well, yeah, we spoke to one on this podcast about the name that was being pushed forward for that job ahead of Moyes. Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho was perfect for that. He had the ego. Fergie I don't think would have allowed it. We hear these stories about Fergie and Mourinho, great mates. To your point, Fergie's ego allowed Jose to come into his house and kick on.
No chance.
I think he's the one that would have been perfect for 2-3 years. Jose comes in there. He's got the ego to kick it on. Then you bring your long-term man in. And instead, we're
Why do you
10
need
years
a
now.
long-term man?
Exactly. Why do you
Well,
need
it's
a long-term man?
it's the in vogue thing.
Chelsea
isn't it?
don't have a long-term man. Never have had.
No, we never have.
And they've had
So,
success.
and we've managed to
And
win
you've won
everything.
the Champions
Yeah.
League, and you've won the league, and you've won the
yeah.
FA Cup. You've got the whole.
So is football like that at the minute? 2-3 year cycles?
Okay, well,
Less.
no, it can be, but it can be less. But I think there are occasions when managers can stay and will stay for time. I mean, I don't see Arteta leaving anytime soon at Arsenal.
No.
You know,
No.
I don't see. I hope I don't see.
Ten Hag, what do you make of him? You think he should?
I thought this was a football podcast, not a comedy. I mean, if you want to go down the route of comedy, let's go. Seriously.
I mean,
Let's hear it.
He has just retained his job as 4th choice
Yes.
after it was
Yeah.
hawked
Yes.
all over Europe.
Yeah.
If you had any self-respect,
You should walk.
Yeah.
away.
You quit. You quit.
Seriously.
Like, oh, come in, Eric. Yeah, we'll give you a new contract. Oh, thanks, Gaffer. Yes, we couldn't find anyone else, so you're getting it for another year.
Well, you didn't find anyone else because if you're offering $8 million a year to a super coach,
Is that what they want?
you're not going to get him to take the job, are you?
Manchester United should be offering whatever they want.
Of course they should, but you've got Sonny Jim in charge now who's looking to nip and tuck at every. Maybe he's right, you know. But
So you think they couldn't get anyone better, or
I don't
I don't
anyone
think they offered the terms
offer the
that would have
terms? Yeah.
enticed a proper coach
proper
to take
coach.
that job.
Yeah.
Thomas Tuchel was clearly the right man.
For
And they
me,
didn't
yeah,
make
I
it-
thought,
they
yeah.
didn't make it attractive enough, did they? And
So
Jose, by the way, you won't find too big of fans
No.
that haven't worked for him.
Yeah.
When he did the job at Manchester United, I remember he came here and I talked to him about regrets. He said, "Yeah, 2 regrets.
Yeah.
1, taking it.
Yeah.
2, should have left at the
Should
end
have
of the
left.
first season.
Yeah. Should have left.
But what a season! 2 trophies
Finish second.
at a period of real
Yeah.
unrest at United. Different class, Jose. Different class. I
Yeah,
know
top man.
You ask him
Top
one.
man.
You
Yeah,
say,
yeah, top
Jose,
man.
what was one of your greatest achievements?
He
Look
said
what
it,
he's
yeah,
won.
finishing second.
You
with
say
yeah,
finishing
he did.
second at
Second with-
Manchester United
Well,
that
and
year.
Yeah,
history's
yeah.
proved
There you
him
go.
right. Bag of shit. They've been nowhere near it.
Well, he said on the pod, didn't he? He said
Yeah,
there's a lot of players I had told the club they should be nowhere near this football
Of course
club
not.
that are still there.
So do you
That
think
tells
it's still going to be same United next season?
I can't see anything changing.
What changes? Does the fact that Dan Ashton, is that his name?
Dan Ashworth.
Dan Ashworth. Sorry, I've got it now.
Dan
Is
Ashworth.
that Dan Ashworth? The fact that Dan Ashworth.
Dan Ashton
Is
and
Dan
that-
Ashworth going to make a difference?
What about Jason Williams?
Wilcox? I know that one.
Do they? No. That's all. I don't even get me going on Dave Brailsford.
Top 4 next season?
Oh, he likes Dave Brailsford. Ask Keith
No.
what he thinks of Brailsford.
Gosh, you did cycling commentary back in the day as
There
well.
you go.
Sir Dave,
Yeah.
not for you.
Well, did you follow the story? Did you follow Jiffy Bag Gate?
Yeah.
He shouldn't be near professional sport, let alone a professional football club. He shouldn't be anywhere near the place.
And he's top dog, making big decisions.
So you
there.
don't. So Just to be clear, both of you don't think Manchester United will make top 4 next season or challenge for the title?
I don't see. They've got obviously got
He's Premier again now. He's making me laugh.
Is he making you laugh?
Challenge for the title.
Did you say that? Oh, I just ignored it.
Because it's Manchester United we're
talking
about.
Miles away.
The biggest
John, they're miles away. What have they done so far this season to change it?
This season, last season.
Close season.
Oh, close season.
What have they done close season to change it? Have they brought in anyone? They've already said they're not bringing any superstars in. They'll just bring squad players if they can get them. And they'll leave Erik ten Hag in charge. I just don't see him turning it round. I've seen no evidence of Manchester United being able to sustain a title challenge. None at all.
By the way, they won a cup final. All right, make the best of the luck and the cards you have.
Hold on.
They won a cup final against the team that have been celebrating winning a title for 5 days.
Yeah.
That they shouldn't even have been in.
Yeah.
Because they lost the semi-final.
And by the way, don't forget, Liverpool battered them at Old Trafford and somehow lost the game.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. They won a cup. Come on.
But they finished the lowest that they've finished in the Premier League. They finished
Lowest
8th.
points total, lost more games than at any time.
Least goals, I think. Most goals conceded. Least goals scores. It's
and that's Ten Hag.
Nothing suggests.
Ten Hag's not.
And what has he done? And he'll say, "Well, I had a lot of injuries." Sorry, teams do get injuries.
Yeah.
You're Manchester United.
Yeah.
You would also ask why, because a lot of those injuries, I'm sure, if you looked at the medical data, you would find out were self-inflicted.
Yeah.
So that's got a lot to do with preparation.
Yeah.
They brought the doctor in from Arsenal. A lot happening behind the scenes, but to your point, United not top 4 and Ten Hag out of his depth.
You can do what you like behind the scenes, right? And it can be perfect. But if the coach is not good enough and he's not good enough to do it on the pitch, then it doesn't matter what's behind you. You have the best backroom staff in the world. But if the coach can't get it out of them.
That's true.
When you were going to when you were considering the Everton job, when you hadn't considered that seriously, the Everton job that you may have been linked with at different times and no one knows whether that was the case. If you had been interviewed by the chairman, let's say, what would the points, or among the many points, would you have made when he talked about taking charge of the club? What did you say?
Well, it was way back then. Obviously, it's moved on. This is nearly 20 years ago.
Principle's the same. What did you say?
What we were talking about, and I said to him that he was talking about the youth team and the reserves, and I said, hold on a minute. I said, my job right now would be to come into Everton, and I said, I believe the football club in many ways is like a pyramid. And the top triangle in the pyramid is your first team, the first team squad. Now, if I get that right, then it should flow through the pyramid from there. Success. We get success for that. If I get success in the youth team or the under-19s, what's that going to get me?
Yeah.
In the under-21s, what's that going to get me? If I get it right at the top, we start to win games, people want to come to the club, makes my job easier, and it flows through to the reserves and the under-21s and the youth team. And everyone rises from there. And he went, oh, okay then.
And were you close to actually taking that? I remember at the time Sky came in with a new offer, did they? New contract?
Yeah.
How close were you, Andy?
Well, when I left home that morning, I said to my wife at the time, I said, I think when I get back, I'll be manager of Everton. Actually, I thought that.
And you feel you were ready?
I don't know.
I think it'd have been brilliant.
I don't know.
We will never know.
I mean, I will never know because they never offered me it. It's as simple as that.
You had a chat.
I guarantee you would never have put a team on the park that would have got beaten 7-0 by Valencia.
No, 9-0.
Listen, I can't let you boys go because we've talked about Man United. There's a lot of Chelsea. Obviously, there is. He's a Chelsea legend, for goodness sake.
Who?
Where is
Somebody
he?
else coming in.
I think
He
so.
pays me to say that. I've got to say it, boys.
Jimmy
Come on.
Floyd. You're Jimmy Floyd just coming down the stairs.
Jesus, Jimmy's going to mention. Like, again, if Man United are a basket case, Chelsea Football Club right now.
Yes.
From ownership to recruitment.
How can you argue that isn't so? I think Todd Bowley and co. I know what they're trying to. We all know what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're looking to sign a lot of players that they believe have potential. 22 to 24-year-olds on long-term contracts. What's missing is that critical element. I think you guys have played. I think I've learned along the way is half a dozen good senior pros in the dressing room that have got the ability to help those lads.
Yeah.
When they're struggling and toilet, who do they turn to?
Nobody.
You're getting pumped every week.
Yeah.
No one in this dressing room that I can actually go and have a word with, or where are the JTs and your Johns? There aren't.
No.
Now, maybe they will be proved to be right, and we'll all be wrong. But
I don't know where Chelsea. I think they're a strange one for me this summer. I don't know what to expect from next year. I really don't. I don't know if they're going to be ordinary. I don't know if they're going to be surprises and be very good. I just don't know. I don't know the coach that well, obviously. So it's going to be interesting what he does and how he sets up and what he decides to go along with. But I just think there's just a question mark there. Just a Chelsea question mark.
Yeah,
that is.
I mean, he hasn't managed in the Premier League before. Do you guys think that's obviously for me? I think it's a risk, isn't it? And look at the signings, the 2 signings we've made in the past few days.
Dewsbury Hall.
Is that back in the day? Is that sort of a Chelsea kind of player? I mean, that's something I was talking to somebody.
What is a Chelsea kind of player? You tell us.
Well, I mean, back in the day, the players that used to come to the club, the Balaks, the Shevchenko, top players, players that you can bring in the Premier League that will straight away.
But Mourinho, that's the difference.
I mean?
You see, that's the difference with Jose. I think Jose always bought the finished article. Very few. He very rarely bought a 21-year-old, a 20-year-old. He would buy a player who's the finished 25.
But I think he did mix it a bit. Because he brought me to the club. He brought Solomon Kalou to the club. And we're both very young players as well. Lassana Diarra as well.
Yeah.
De Bruyne.
He kind of had to mix it up. And that's something we don't have at Chelsea right now today. And same at Manchester United as well. He's 25, isn't he?
A very good player.
Yeah.
But I saw no evidence of that the last time I was watching him in a Leicester shirt. Now, last season, he may have grown into the sort of player that will dominate a Chelsea midfield.
He might.
This coming season. But I rather doubt it. Would he? If I was a Chelsea fan and I'm thinking of renewing my season ticket, would that persuade me if I was prevaricating? No. Dewsbury Hall. Yeah. No.
You can't keep buying. They can't keep buying. They can't just buy everybody. That's to come a time when you go, hold on a minute. Right.
We have to make work.
We have to make this work.
Yeah.
We live in a world now, I think, where owners, it used to be the case that we would say, how do you make a small fortune in football? We know the answer. Start with a big one.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore. Everybody's in the game now to make money, and they will continue to try to find ways to make money. We will eventually play Premier League football, not just in America, but I think around the world. It's inevitable. These guys have not bought in to accept the structure that they've got. They want more. And we know when Bowley came, he started telling us all what we'd been doing wrong since a ball was first kicked.
Yeah.
I think he may have realised, or someone's perhaps told him, just
back off
a tad.
Yeah.
But we know what they're in it for. But they've all got the same formula. They're all hunting the same thing. They're all looking for mini-me, a mini Guardiola. Football now is played the way that Guardiola wants it to be. So with a different. I mean, he's got a group that can do it because they're good players.
Yeah, I was going to ask
if
you
you
that
spent
about
£1 billion,
Guardiola,
which he has at City, $2 billion across his career, chances are you're going to be successful.
There's the small elephant in the room, 115 charges, alleged financial irregularities.
Well, they're not alleged. They've been charged.
They've been charged.
What they haven't been done is convicted.
They haven't been tried.
But if
Is that a watershed? Is that going to be a watershed moment?
Well, if Manchester City have got nothing to fear, they should be requesting that. If I'm a City fan, I want that tidied up, because right now everything we've won comes with an asterisk. Everything until that case is settled.
But they've always said they're not guilty.
Well, if there's nothing to hide,
wrap it up.
Do it now.
I think the authorities
Stop
have
running.
got. I think the authorities have got as much to answer for as City for allowing it.
But
to
we
drift.
know what the problem is. We know that the Saudis wouldn't be at Newcastle if the British government hadn't engineered for that to be so. We know now that there are talks going on. I think I read the other day in the Mail at the highest level that we'll try and find a formula to sort this out.
What's what I'm saying? I think they'll fudge it, City. I think they'll try and fudge it. I think they'll try and fudge it. Yeah.
The game is an entirely. Would you agree? Entirely different to the one we used to watch. You have to play now the right way.
Yeah.
I agree.
What is that?
The Pep way.
the right way. It
Are you a fan of
does
that?
my head in.
Are
my head in.
Are you too fan of that? The way Pep, obviously, he's won the
defer to
Premier
my
League 4
colleague
times
who
in a
knows-
row now. So
The football's sensational, but there are different ways to skin a cat.
I don't know if the football's sensational all the time. No, I don't go to watch football to see a pass fest. I don't go to watch football to see 1,000 passes.
but Andy, he's won the Premier League 4
No,
times.
I'm not saying it's not successful, John. You're asking me if I enjoy it. I don't. I would rather watch, and I say it as an Evertonian, I would rather watch Liverpool and their style of football, right? I would rather watch Arsenal,
but Klopp has won the Premier
who's
League
not quite Guardiola.
once in nine years or 10 years.
Listen, I'm not saying that. You won the Champions League as well. What I'm saying is,
True.
what do I like to watch, right? And is there the right way? No, I don't want to see I'm a lot older than you guys, but I went to watch football. I played football to see what? What did fans go to see? Does a fan go to see, do you know that was a great game today? We had 1,000 passes. What was the score? 0-0. But we had 1,000 passes. Sorry, no. Or do they go and say, we had 250 passes there. We won 5-0 and we hit the bar 3 times. I know what I want to see.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying. There is no right, no wrong way to play our sport. There are a kaleidoscope of ways to play our sport. And I would like to see a bit more of the others. I think too many teams are trying to play the Guardiola way. You see teams down in the third division.
True, yeah.
Trying to build.
Yeah.
Goalie
Trying to
passing
build-
it, 6-yard box to his
Yeah.
mate. Come on.
Yeah.
I would rather watch. I'm with Andy on that. You say Klopp. Let me just defend Jurgen.
No, I think
he
Klopp
won
is a
title,
fantastic manager.
Missed out by a
Fantastic
point.
manager.
Missed out by a point.
Yeah.
You know, a Champions League final. I mean, I think the way he played his football for me, and I agree with Andy, is far more enjoyable. Mourinho. I'd rather watch a Mourinho team play
me too.
football than I would a Guardiola.
Look at Josie's team now. I think the one you played in won the league, 108 goals or something like that.
Yeah.
Was it 108
Yeah.
goals?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's what fans want to see,
Correct.
John. And I think even though you can sit and admire Guardiola, I'm not saying that it's not to admire. They have their own brand. They have their own special way of
You
doing
got
it.
it right first time.
They have their own special way of playing football.
But do you
that
think,
it's really hard to emulate, but people try. I would just like to see a different football played. I mean, even in this Euros at times, you've watched games and you sit there and you go, you know, is anyone going to do something? Is anyone going to throw a cross in there? Is anyone going to play a percentage ball that might get a goal or not? And in a lot of games, the answer's no. But a lot of games, there has been.
Yeah.
And those have been the exciting ones. Maybe it's the teams that aren't quite at the top level, who don't have that artistry, who play football a little differently.
I
You know,
agree.
I think
Yeah.
Georgia were played in one of the best games I've seen
Yeah.
in this tournament.
Yeah.
It was a great game. We watched Austria against Turkey last night. I know it was a bit one-sided, but it was exciting.
It was.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't a bore fest.
You know, on his defense, though, Man City, I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying.
They're not attacking
But on
them.
his defense, do you think teams come at City and just sit back? Because if you do that, I'll have to pass the ball 1,000 times before I can create a chance.
agree with
Do you
that.
think that is mostly the reason why there's too many passes? Because, of course,
No, I think that's how he likes it. At their very best, I think they're very.
but when they
Yes.
play teams like...
But their very best is very occasional.
Yeah.
The Real Madrid game year before last.
Sensation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because Real Madrid
Yeah.
come out
Yeah.
to play.
Yeah.
But the game at the City ground last season, the Champions League was the semi-finals.
When they won it.
Madrid didn't come out to play.
No,
they had
they
11 men at the back
behind
the ball. So it makes it difficult. For me, I'm not saying I agree with you guys, but sometimes I just think teams come at City
Yeah, they do.
and they just
I
sit
totally
back.
agree with you.
They have to pass the ball
Totally
around
agree.
to create
You
the
don't
chances.
have to pass the ball around. You could just get it.
Into the mix.
I'm going to sound like you could just get it wide and knock it into your centre forward and see what he can do with it. You don't have to. All this, in my view, as a football fan, that City, everybody said, so you pass the ball 1,000 times. What actually have you achieved? I'm told that's to move the defence, and you move them out the way left, and you move them out the way right,
chess.
then you move them forward, and it's a chess game, and then they get tired. I don't see that. I just see a team go, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to move it around here 1,000 times. And what's the outcome of that? Well, it's still 0-0. All right. Okay.
No, there's no criticism here of what Guardiola's done.
Yeah.
You know, he's been given, amazing tools to work with in his jobs. Barcelona, the best Barcelona players, right? Took over a team in Germany that won the treble.
Bayern Munich, yeah.
Didn't manage to win the treble. Heinkes won it differently, with a different style. This is what I'm saying. Then he gets Manchester City with all the jewels that he has there and the money to spend there. So he's been given 3 amazing football clubs to work. And not many people get that luxury as well, but he's done it. I agree with you. He's done it mostly. Obviously, in Germany, he didn't emulate what Heinkes did.
Or
didn't get over the leg.
Flick. I think Flick won at the
Hansi Flick won the treble as well.
Yeah,
didn't he?
so there you go.
Luis Enrique won it with Barca after he left. So there are,
But it's at its best, it's breathtaking to watch. But if you're asking me on a week-to-week basis, do I love watching Manchester City play? Most times, probably not.
Right. Okay. One last question from me. I have to ask this. There's been so many debates about this conversation, and I know you. Of course, we all, football. Talk about football. I'll have to ask this: Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, post Scholes.
What about it?
Who do you pick? Who is the better?
I know who he is.
Because he's going to pick
the player. Not even a debate.
He's going to pick the player he thinks is not only the best midfield player, but the best player that the Premier League has seen. English.
I think I might be with you on that one.
A debate.
I'm on the fence as to where I think you're going to go. You're going to say...
Not even a debate?
No.
Not for Kesey.
I think
you can argue, two of them you can argue all day long.
Yeah.
You're going Paul
One
Scholes?
of them stands head and shoulders above not just them, but every other player I've seen in the Premier League. And I'll justify that by saying to you, one of the qualifications he always talks about required for greatness is longevity. This fella had a career spanning probably the best part of 20 years. Started out as an entirely different footballer than the one that he ended up.
I think I know where you're going now.
He was a fantastic 10. He became a really, really good 6. He would run a football match at his pace and as and when he wanted to. If England had ever had the sense to play him where he should have done alongside Lampard and put Gerrard up there behind a Rooney, then maybe we could have squeezed everybody into the same team. But I think Paul Scholes has been just the best. The other two, I love to bits. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Either or, don't care.
I think it's a really good question. Yeah. And I wouldn't argue with Kesey. Paul's, they've all got longevity, the three of them as well. That's the beauty of the three of them. They've had fantastic careers. And they did things differently. I would say of the three, Paul was the most skillful, more technically gifted.
What a player.
Scholesy. The other two, Frank, we know what Frank was. He was a genuine 10 at those times before 10s were fashionable. And the goals that he scored and the important moments in his life. And Steven was just Gerrard. He was Liverpool.
He was.
Amazing goals, amazing passer of a ball, long range passer of a ball, man. So all different, not all different, but I know why he picked Scholesy, and I get it. I think it's a big question, and you'd get a lot of different answers.
Come on, Andy. Yeah. Olympiacos, Steven Gerrard. All of our listeners want this.
No.
Come on now.
Everton fans have never forgiven
me.
Have they never forgiven
son?
Yeah?
What?
Never forgiven
Everton fans go, oh, can't believe it. I said, well, I just kind of lost it in the moment.
He called it. They needed a goal. And he stepped up.
He stepped up, right. And do you know what? It's funny because people say, what? And I said, well, it was a funny game because they were going out, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
And there was like 10 minutes to go.
They needed to win 3-0, didn't
Something like that. But they were going out and I'm sitting over. And at the time, we wanted as many Premier League sides into the next round. And I'm thinking, well, we're going to lose Liverpool. No, I shouldn't have been disappointed at that. But, I was thinking, no, there's another one of our teams going. I'm thinking of the coefficient. I'm thinking of all those things. And then it kind of dropped to him. Was it Neil Mellor? The little flick header, I think. Was it Neil?
Neil Mellor.
I think Neil helped it on. And as it came to Stephen, he just kind of caught it on the half volley.
What a moment.
Yeah.
And it was just
what a moment.
And it was wrong of me because that wasn't my job then. Martin Tyler's job was to call it first, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
And I had to apologise to Martin after it because I just jumped all over him. It was just one of those moments.
I just think it was a wonderful moment of commentary.
It was.
And I was in the studio. I think with Hullet and Souness and some big players. Everybody was out of their chair. We loved Steven.
Yeah.
We love what Steven brought to the Premier League and the way he played the game.
Yeah.
And I had and still do a soft spot for Liverpool.
I'm a big fan.
I worked there for 4 years.
Of course you did.
I know the place.
You were a red for a long time, son.
I was a closet blue that later had the courage to come out and confess to being so. But no, it was. And I think that summed it up. That moment of commentary.
It was amazing.
Summed up an extraordinary moment of football. The two things, they matched. They should go together. Yeah. But it's funny you say that because Tyler, we always said, the best finisher.
Aye.
The best finisher. A goal was scored and Martin Aguero, I give you.
Oh, yeah. He had
the
his
best
moment, didn't he? Yeah.
Finisher that ever picked a microphone up. Coleman was fantastic, but Coleman worked at a different time with restrictions that required him to have to say 1-0, wait, world-class finishing.
Yes.
The reason for that is, as I said in the blog that I wrote this week,
Widely read?
very widely read, Andy.
Okay.
Extremely well received.
Well received?
Yeah, very much so.
Always.
Coleman didn't work with replay machines. The replays were put on in the studio. So he had to remember how you just talked about Mellor, great recall. He didn't have that. He didn't have that recall. Motti did. Motti sort of came in that era, but could remember every little ball here and there. So the way David would finish is legendary. 1-0, brilliant, love it. Simple, but Tyler became the best.
He did.
He rewrote the book, Martin. Martin time and
brilliant.
You know, fantastic. But so Martin would do that. You know, bang, first replay, Andy. That was a discipline.
That was a discipline.
First replay, not that night.
No,
You took over. Well, listen, I'm conscious of time.
Yeah.
We have kept you boys far longer
I'm
than
enjoying
I think.
it. We could be
We
here
could
now.
be. I'm worried though, because we've got a flight to catch to get back to Dubai. I want to finish because we've talked longevity. I could talk football with you boys all night. When does it end for you boys? I still see you've still got the hunger.
Look, we're not young men. We're not young men.
We're a bit like John.
You're younger than John.
We've had a great run. I understand that times change, and it is necessary that we are at some point asked to move on. But I think at that stage, I'm probably done. It's easy to say, that's it, because you don't know. It's like age.
Well, you don't know. But
Andy and I talk about age a lot. No one warns you about age.
No, they don't.
I mean, what are you now? 57.
And what is John? 52? John's 52.
Nothing inside changes as you get older.
Nothing.
Everything externally.
Yeah,
You creak
yeah,
and
yeah.
you make the same noise your mum and dad did when they get in chairs. Or
And then you've had your knee replaced.
So I don't know about age. I don't feel any different, but I know I am.
I don't, and that's the worry
but
thing.
it's got to end at some stage. And
As my kids
I
keep
accept
saying to me, when are you going to grow up? And I think, never hope.
And you still love it. You still love it as much.
Listen,
Yes,
football's
is
been
the
my
answer.
life since I was born, basically. I had a family of 4, 3 older brothers, all wanted to be footballers, never quite made it. I was the last chance. They've put all their energy into me. I made it. I've been playing football all my life, but I've been involved in it since I was 17 as a pro. That's 50 years. It's a long time. And if I still get the passion for it, do I still love it? Do I still watching it? Do I still get excited? Absolutely. It's the most amazing sport in the world because you just don't know.
Yeah,
Ask Turkey. They thought they were conceding an equaliser in the last minute last night. And the keeper does something extraordinary for them. That's football.
Sadly, glad we didn't mention it. I'll have to imparting. He's right. The drama, the colour, the not knowing that people have tried to remove from the game with their technology, and that's a real tragedy. That's a real shame. Finding ways to disallow the currency that we all spend money to see and buy into.
Goals.
And I think down the line somebody has got to change the way that we use the technology now.
Well, thankfully, there's a bloke that you guys have on your show that you watched the game with last night.
By the way, don't you worry about that. We keep him right. Arsenal.
Good.
Oh, we keep
You
Arsenal
have
right.
that word.
We've already. By the way, Glenn's on board. Kick-ins.
Kick-ins.
Kick out the kick-ins.
Oh, this is
Glenn
part 2 of the pod. We're going to miss our flight if we go into that. Fellas,
Kick-ins are gone.
One
Kick-ins
last one
He's
before
given up
we
on
go.
kick-ins.
Come on then,
One
John.
last one,
We've got a flight in 2
I
hours.
just need to talk about the mental side of the game. I mean, today a lot of people talk about, do you think players and, men in general, I know we talk about women, the mental side of, life and health. Do you think footballers talk about it a lot? Is this something you think we need
They
to
talk about it more.
We need to talk about more?
I think it is something we need to talk about.
Yeah.
More. Yeah, and
But they do talk more than they ever
And I
have.
refer back to Ronaldo. I think that the way that what happened to him on that football pitch the other night was viewed by muscular, masculine hunks. We need to look at that a little bit more seriously. As we know, mental health is enormously important area.
Yeah.
Enormously. we should encourage people, yes, to talk more about their feelings.
And just because people are rich and famous,
Yeah,
John,
that's it.
doesn't mean you can't suffer from mental health.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. I think people have this feeling that, oh, if you is that because you're sad? Just because you're sad doesn't mean you've got mental health. It's nothing like that. You know, it can be all sorts of reasons why people need help. And yeah, we should talk about it more. And I think we do. I think it's got better over the years.
In the game, yeah.
Yeah, I think people. It's like Kesey said when he mentioned macho, machismo, and all that.
Yeah.
Men generally throughout life have been. Oh, I'm not admitting
I'm
to
macho,
this.
yeah.
I'm not admitting I've got a weakness, so I'll deal with it myself or whatever. Whereas I think now men are becoming more open.
Yeah.
About it, and the more famous men or influential men who come out and talk about it will help the rest.
Yeah.
To come out and talk about it and help.
100%.
Yeah.
Right.
Just to finish on that, I think all the way back to Stan Collymore.
Yeah.
When he was at Villa and said he was struggling, and Grego hammered him.
Did he?
He's earning whatever he was, 60 grand a week.
How can you be? How can you be?
How can you be depressed? Well, the being unhappy and depressed is very difficult. Being clinically depressed, and that's an area that is entirely, broken foot, broken leg. Go and see the physio, ligaments. Fine, you can fix all that. You can see it. You know what you're working with. You can't
Mental,
when
you
it's in
can't
there.
see.
No.
Yeah.
You got to be really careful.
Yeah.
It's a powerful message to finish on, boys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. It's nice to see you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Been
Hope you
amazing.
don't miss your flight.
Brilliant. We might, in which case,
Remember
we'll
what
be
I showed
back
you
here.
about water carrying?
Yes. Yes.
You've taken that on board earlier.
Yes.
You
Very good.
might have won a bit more.
Amazing, boys. Thank you
Cheers,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Richard
Absolutely
Keys,
amazing.
Andy Gray.
Pleasure, guys.
Pleasure.
Thank you. BetWinner is your reliable partner in the world of sports betting.
Oh, there you are then. I did promise it was going to get emotional at times. I'm a bit lost for words just kind of watching that back, John. I mean, fair play to them both. We've got to thank them.
We had it, yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it was
Very candid.
Very candid, fantastic. Like we said, very emotional, very direct.
Andy in particular, right?
Andy, very, in particular, I think maybe he thought obviously it was his kind of like, I don't want to say his mistake, but obviously they both are very, very close with each other of what they thought happened, and so he was very, very emotional. You could see that, and of course, Kesey, Richard. Richard was trying to, or sometimes trying to jump in and, help him out a bit. But no, it was absolutely fantastic. Like we said, their opinion is their opinion, very controversial, and that's why they're very, very good in what they do. They've been doing this for years, and for me, they're still the best. I think the way they talk about football, the way they analyze the game, very refreshing. And sometimes, a little banter here and there, but I always think they're fantastic.
Thanks for that, John. I'm second best after Richard. I do jest.
No, you're the best, mate.
Thanks, mate. 20 dirhams coming your way. Quick one as well. Pumpkin, do I get to call you that? Is that only
Who told
John
you that?
Well, Richard. Is that John Terry and Richard Keys?
Yeah. John Terry, of course, JT starts it, doesn't he? Yeah, JT stitched me up, calls me that. Sometimes Frank as well. They both call me Pumpkin sometimes, but and now, of course, Richard Keys has picked it up. So it's just banter. It's fun, isn't it?
Right,
So,
I'm not going to start calling you that, okay? Because I can see the anger and the rage in your eyes. The Obi One Podcast made possible by BetWinner. Do drop us a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Tell us what you thought of Richard Keys and Andy Gray. We always promise the big names on the podcast. John delivered once again on that front. Well done, John. And we'll be back with another episode soon on the Obi One Podcast.
We'll be back soon. Thanks, BetWinners. I mean, they keep
delivering.
Yeah, keep delivering, making this possible for us to travel around the world and make sure we bring to our guests, our listeners, all this fantastic interviews. So thank you, BetWinners.
Thank you very much. Top stuff. Ta-ra for now.
BetWinner is your reliable partner in the world of sport betting.
BetWinner.